Good morning. I hope everybody that listens is keeping well. I'm outside trying to get some fresh air, but I'm gonna have to go back in and lock myself away because temperatures are rising up to 40 degrees Celsius around here. It's really hot. Well, luckily, it's not always like this. Some days it's like this, but most of the times temperatures don't go beyond 35 degrees Celsius. In some occasions, it rises above that. This is the interior, you know. Around the shore, it's a different story. Most of the coast of Portugal is bathed by the Atlantic Ocean, the currents that come from the north, so it's very, very cold. And it's also good to surf. The currents are very strong. The water is freezing, except for the south. The south is a different story. I think there's some currents that come from Africa. The temperature is also different. It doesn't go below 17 degrees Celsius all year round. So it's excellent for tourism. I never went there. It's a pretty popular place and expensive. So I avoid those type of places. Anyway, around 2017, I think, I started getting interested in nutrition. I started taking my first steps, listening to YouTube content about it. I quickly realized most was confusion and bullshit, and most people talking about nutrition had no clue what they were doing. Let me try to explain. When you see, for instance, a carrot or a potato, obviously it's not going to be the same, in another country. It's not going to be the same, even in the same country, if it's, grown by a local farmer or grown by an industrial operation. It is a potato, but its contents are going to be different. It is said that potatoes have vitamin C. All right, vitamin C. It's good to, I don't know, fight scurvy. Okay. But if the soil in which this potato grew was depleted of nutrients and minerals, and it was just given water, it might grow to be an adult potato, but its content is not the same. The soil is everything, you know. So a potato that you grow yourself is going to be different from the industrial, operation. They know all the tricks to make these potatoes big and beautiful, but they are empty inside. This is capitalism. That's how it works. They seduce you, but the content of the product is just void, empty. So early on, I understood that. And people were saying, I'm going to do this diet and I'm going to do that diet. And then they came out some weeks later, oh, it's not working for me. I'm losing weight. I'm getting sick. And everybody talks so highly of this diet. It's not working. I did everything, but I did everything, according to the clues to the list. And have you ever considered the contents of the food? No, they just go for the appearances. And it's the same when people use these calorie calculators. I was looking at that. That doesn't make any sense. I thought to myself, this is just common sense. Some, meat, for instance, it's the same thing as vegetables and fruits and everything. It depends on the provenance of this product. Where did it grow? Did the soil in which this animal grazed was, full of minerals and nutrients? Did it had any? It's pointless to say this meat is the same animal and it's the same all around the world. No, it's totally different. In culinary, we mix foods and we give them different tastes and sometimes even colors. The industry uses lots of colorants, to change the color to make it more attractive. In culinary, we are masking the flavor of food so that it becomes more attractive to our palate. But at the same time, you are, fooling the customer. You know, you are overwhelming their senses so that they don't notice the food is empty. Actually, to know if it's a food, if it's a good food, you have to eat it as close as nature, as close as possible to its natural form. You know, without any what's it called, tampering, without any processing. That's what it's called. Cooking is processing. Yeah, it's alchemy. You know, cooking is a form of alchemy. You change things, and if you add fire, you are seriously changing things. Seriously changing things. Fire alters everything. Fire actually destroys minerals and nutrients. And then the chef has to add all sorts of spices and this and the other to make the food more attractive. And then people say, I eat tons of potatoes and I have scurvy. How is that possible? Well, chances are those potatoes was grown in a soil that didn't have any vitamin C, and to top that, they were cooked. Heat destroys minerals and nutrients. Then you would say, oh, but are you suggesting we should eat raw potatoes? Of course not. They are actually poisonous, I think. No, there's a lot of food you can't eat raw. That just shows, fire, alters things. Fire will turn things that are undigestible digestible. There's tons of food we consume without cooking, it will kill us. So to go to the source of things, to the essence of things, try to understand which type of foods can we eat raw, you know, and you will get closer and closer to our diet, I would say. Anyway, I was listening. This was a while back. It was this scientist. He was talking and giving an interview, and he said, "We are fighting in multiple fronts against these companies because they have pulled a fast one on people with this calorie hoax." He said it was a bullshit measurement for the purpose of propaganda, for the purpose of selling products and protecting companies from accountability by announcing this bullshit measurement in the low in the brand, in the product. They avoid accountability. This has many calories, this has many calories, or so that if people get sick or obese or whatnot, they can't sue companies. Oh, we warned you. It's right there. But he was saying it's a bullshit measurement, and there's a lot of nutritionists that follow this calorie calculator, to the extreme, and then they get bad results. Sometimes they even get sick and get hospitalized. I mean, what are calories? It's a bullshit measurement. How do they come up with this bullshit measurement? Humans, they invented most of measurements. They don't exist in the world. They don't exist in nature. For instance, time doesn't exist. We came up with that concept. It's this time, it's the other. No, it's not. So time travel doesn't exist either. I hate that when they bring up time travel in films or something. It just it's illogical, irrational. It just doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. Anyway, uh, so how do they come up with calories? Apparently, they have this device. It has to be in the laboratory, of course. It has to be executed by priests, in those white coats, with all the documentation, yeah, all the credentials, yeah. Documentations, credentials, these are all, paperwork that are almost like a permit for working. You have a permit. And if you have that permit, you have a legal protection if you have a permit. If you don't have a permit, you don't have legal protection. You know, they kind of protect themselves. That's why it's such a crime to do things without a permit, without the degrees. Yeah, if you have the degrees, you're covered. So these priests with the precise degrees, they have this device that they came up with, in which they burn a gram of food. They choose a food, a random food, and we're gonna burn a gram of food using these chemicals. The heat that is produced then warms up a liquid. If the liquid goes up a degree in temperature, it means that that food um, raised 1 degree, it means it has these many calories. It's something like that. And then you would ask yourself, what does this have to do with the body? Nothing, you know, nothing. It's just a sleight of hand. Yeah. And I'm amazed how, nutritionists talking, oh, I'm going to use my calculator, my calorie calculator. And I suspect calorie comes from the French. In Latin, in most of the derived languages, heat is calor, calore, calorie. The French sometimes they use, for instance, plaisanterie at the end of the letter, connard, connerie, and I suppose they said chaleur, chalerie, and they removed the H and they just call it calorie, and everybody started using calorie, calorie, calorie. Chaleur in Portuguese it's calor, calorie. Yeah, you had heat into the gram of food or whatever, and then chaleur, chalerie. It's the at least that's. I mean, I could be wrong, but that was my reasoning. Anyway, it's a bullshit measurement, you know, like many other measurements that humans came up with. Okay, I think I'm gonna shut up. Tell me what you guys think. Have a nice Sunday.